Welcome to this week's edition of the Gridiron, sponsored by Patriot Chevrolet. I'm your host, John Rowe, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Springford fell on homecoming 27-25 to Owen J. Roberts. Coach, I guess what I've been thinking about is, have you ever been a part of a high school football game as a coach on a walk-off, field goal, make-miss situation like what happened on Saturday?
Walk-off two-point conversions.
You've had a walk-off two-point conversion to win. Can you ever
And to
really think
lose.
of a game where you've had somebody miss a field goal to win or lose a game?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So I guess my next question is, after what transpired at the end of the game and you knew they were going to kick the 33-yard, in your heart of hearts, did you think he was going to make it or miss it?
Honestly, I had no idea. I mean, I was,
Rooting for a miss, yeah.
Right.
Because
they made a good decision there. Like, we were going to ice him, and then they brought their offense back out in the field, which was somewhat risky. There were 5 or 7 seconds
7
left.
seconds, yep.
We could have. There was a player there that could have grabbed the quarterback and held him up.
Okay.
And the play's not over till the play's over.
Yeah.
He whiffed. So.
Yeah, and essentially when that whiff occurs, he's not only able to get the ball from the hash to the middle,
Right.
he's able to gain some yards. And,
Right.
when you saw the replay, it looked like he had a couple more yards to make it. But obviously a tougher kick from the left hash than right down the middle of the field.
Yeah, listen, they did some. That quarterback made an unbelievable throw. Kid made
play before it, yeah.
made a really nice catch, and we were in very, very good coverage. Sometimes you don't have much to say other than like tip your cap. Like, obviously, it should, in our minds, it should never have gotten to that
To the point there.
scenario.
Yeah.
We had a couple drives in the first half that either started inside their territory or ended inside their territory without any points scored. We attempted a field goal that got botched, the snap. We went for it a couple times when we weren't really in range, and we turned the ball over. So we got a couple holding calls that some people people might say were a little questionable, but we got to overcome those things, and we didn't.
Yeah, I felt like it was a game where big play, and then all of a sudden you see that flag on the field, that sort of thing, or opportunity to crushing situation for him. We come up a little bit short. It's one of those odd games where you score more touchdowns than O&J, but they convert their extra points. They obviously convert the 2 field goals as well. And you guys obviously struggled on tries after touchdowns as well then too for you on
We did.
Saturday.
Yeah, we really struggled.
And I think you're starting to see the effects. And once again, everybody knows about your injury to Matt at the beginning of the year, quarterback. But the number of injuries for this team is the tally sheet's getting a little bit big on the injury sheet too.
John, I've never been around anything like it. And, obviously they're all legitimate injuries. Like, no one's suggesting that they aren't or anything like that. But that last drive, we had 5 JV players on the field. Like, literally guys that have never played a varsity snap.
And you need to stop in this situation.
In real time.
Yeah.
And not
mop up time, something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
And that's hard to overcome too. Yesterday's practice, we were missing both running backs. We were missing 3/4 of our secondary, a linebacker, 3 or 4 on the defensive line. It's hard to it's not only hard to when these situations are occurring, it's hard to put an offense or defense together. It's also really, really difficult to put special teams together. I felt, so we had some problems on long snaps. Braden Welsh
Injured.
was our long snapper the previous weeks, and we thought we had that corrected. He is now injured, and so we thought we were okay. Clearly we weren't. At the end of that game, a sophomore came in, Patrick Clark, and snapped for the final extra point. And I thought, so to kind of, I'm not answering your question, but I'm kind of answering it a different way. when a sophomore comes in that has not played and is successful in snapping the ball, I thought that was good.
Yeah,
like
like
I thought,
okay,
we're going to win.
Yeah.
The problem there, you know, what an unbelievable catch by Jordan Marsilio and an amazing throw to get us down inside the 2.
Yep.
Problem was it went out of bounds because if it's just inbounds, they have to waste one of their timeouts. We would have taken a good 30 seconds before we snapped that ball to take another 30 seconds off the clock. But the clock was stopped because he went out of bounds.
Yeah, another one of those kind of end game situations, which we've struggled in some of these end games, not just this year, but years in the past. Just doesn't seem to go our way at the end of games.
No, it does not.
So we're not trying to rehash things, that sort of thing. Now, once again, in the end of that situation when you're talking about those JV guys out there, you're trying to, once again, do you have the confidence they know what they're doing? And another thing, can they actually go out there and do it as well? And
they did a pretty good job overall. You know, like I said, they were in the, you know, on a lot of plays, on all the plays, they were in the right positions. The OJ quarterback made a really nice throw. The receiver made a really nice catch. They ran a trick play that we kept him in bounds that really it took up, and they didn't use their timeout, which takes a lot of guts to not use your timeout because they got down.
Probably like 10, 15 seconds went off the clock before they went to the next play there too. All right, and once again, let's talk about your offense. Kind of slow, getting out of the gates a little bit, and then you picked yourself up, especially at the end of the game. Like you had to start making some really big passes for you, able to move the ball, and then that kind of opened up Jamal to get some big runs for you, especially seemed like he got going as the game went on a little bit too for you.
We struggled in the first half with blocking schemes, and you know, we addressed it at halftime and kind of made some corrections and adjustments and really encouraged them to talk. And I don't know that there wasn't somebody like, it seemed as if in the first half there wasn't somebody basically taking charge on the offensive line.
Okay.
You know, Trent had a tremendous game, his best to date. Our receivers played well, our running backs played well, our offensive line played better in the second half. But in that first half, those scoring opportunities that were missed, you know, first down, so misses a blocking assignment, now we're 2nd and 12. And those things are difficult to overcome, especially, again,
when you had the opportunities, because they struggled punting the ball all day too. You know, once again, you get in the ball a lot of time in positive yardage out there. You don't have to drive the field, and you were coming up with no points on the board.
The one thing that's not mentioned is they could have kicked a field goal to have it out of reach before we scored.
And we got a
strip sack. Like it was 3rd and 3. If they run the ball there, whether they get it or they don't, they kick the field goal there, and the game's essentially out of reach there.
Yeah, that was a huge turn. And once again, we'll talk about the defense, but you did get those turnovers out of your defense.
We did finally, and that was we capitalized on the last one, obviously. The other ones not so much, but you know, it generates excitement too, and you know.
I mean, and like you said, sometimes you tip your cap. Obviously, you got to tip your cap to the O&J kicker for making that kick in that situation. And I thought the O&J quarterback played a really good game too. He was able to beat you with his arm and his legs. He got you in the quarterback draw a couple of times too out there. Like, hey, sometimes that's the best player in the field. You tip your cap.
Yeah, we finally figured that out the 3rd time. I mean, we were yelling draw, and.
But that, like, obviously, you give that kicker his credit, and that quarterback played one heck of a game for O&J.
Yeah, he played the best game he's played that we've seen. So,
all right, Coach. Well, like you said here, let's take a look at the offensive highlights from Springford O&J Roberts.
Offensive highlights are sponsored by JC Auto Service.
All right, this was a middle screen that we ran early. We just got Chase Blanken back finally, missing piece of our offense. He does a really nice job here running the middle screen. Linemen get downfield and block for him, and almost made it in the end zone. But you see there, Lyman did a great job of selling that, and he gets inside the 5-yard line. This was, we had run a couple bubbles in the previous game, and we were selling that, and they bid on it, and then we went up the sideline Jordan Marsilio with a touchdown here. That was our third touchdown, I believe, and brought us within 6 near the end of the game. This was a double move. This was an incredible play. This wasn't a touchdown, we don't really get a great view of it, but Jordan Marsilio got interfered with. They called a penalty, and he got his foot down, still made the catch, got us inside the 2-yard line for the final score. This was Braden Hinkle running a jet sweep and gets in the end zone, makes a guy miss. Really does a nice job. Braden's been coming along week by week, and it's more of a learning thing, making sure he's familiar with everything we're doing, but he certainly has a lot of ability. See, he makes 2 guys miss there at the end. This was our first touchdown. We got a holding call, and this was 3rd and 14, and we went into our bag of tricks here. Handed the ball off to Jamal and Jordan Marsilio, and then snuck Ryan Kirchner out from the line of scrimmage. You'll see Ryan there kind of sneaking out of the back, or sneaking out of the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, and getting in the end zone. And then this was our last touchdown. We did not block this well at all. This was pretty much all Jamal Lewis. We were kind of screwed up on it, but Jamal made an unbelievable play and got in the end zone.
All right, Coach, so there's the offensive highlights here. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll be back. We'll talk some defense a little bit, all right? Stay tuned through the commercial break, and we'll be back with the defensive highlights from Springford, Owen J. Roberts.
Welcome to the Rothman Orthopedics Urgent Care and Walk-In Centers. When dealing with pain or injury, our urgent care and walk-in centers are the ideal place to start your care for all of your orthopedic issues. Our team of physician assistants are available to treat patients 8 years of age and older for a variety of orthopedic issues, including sprains, strains, tears, back pain, fractures, and weekend warrior injuries. No appointment is necessary. Don't wait. Start the path to recovery at the Rothman Orthopedics Walk-In Center or Urgent Care.
Welcome back to the Gridiron, sponsored by Patriot Chevrolet. I'm your host, John Brewer, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, no real announcements because obviously the idea of us hosting any more games for the year is going to be gone. We're going away. I guess we could if the upsets happen in the playoffs a little bit.
Sure.
Don't want to truly rule it out, but nothing really going on here, Coach, from Della Stadium. And we'll talk about, obviously, this is our crossover week, and we're going to face the Potts Grove Falcons.
That's right.
In our crossover game here. But before we talk the Falcons, let's finish up with the Owen J. Roberts Wildcats. Like you said, the positives, you caused turnovers out there. But also, I think it was one of those things, too, where you struggled to get off the field on 3rd downs, too. Like, they converted some 3rd and 4th downs against you that were real kind of momentum breakers, too.
Yeah, they did. And again, like you said earlier, their quarterback played a tremendous game. They were without their best running back, obviously, which didn't help them. Early, I thought it was good they didn't have him because there were some mistakes that we made in reads that could have resulted in huge plays, but we were able to recover without him in. But our defense hung in there. Like, again, you're talking about, without Braden Welsh, Victor Vanderzil went down relatively early in the game. Bryce Roberts was out in the 4th quarter.
You lost
we
cornerback.
We lost Dalen Palmer. We lost Anthony Early. So. Yeah,
and I would say, like, in some of those passes, he's putting the pass only where his guy can catch it, too. Like, some of them were really good coverage on our part, but it's just a better play on their part than, too.
We let some guys get over top, which we haven't done this year. They didn't go for touchdowns, but they went for big plays.
Yeah.
And, we weren't very fundamental on some of those plays. But, overall our defense played well enough, kept us in the game and came up with a big turnover when it was needed.
Yeah.
So.
And like you said, the running back, their backup running back, you kept him in check for the most part, but it was really their quarterback with his legs, once again, getting those big first downs out there and running like you said, they ran draw 2, 3, 4 times, something like that, and was able to be really successful in the play.
Our guys figured it out by a 3rd time. The 2nd time we knew what was coming. We're yelling it out.
So the idea of draw is, it's once again, it's obviously a passing situation. So you're getting the guys at the field, and your linebackers are essentially dropping a little bit, and it gives an opportunity for him to get his foot in the ground and get up the field.
And he just jerked his shoulders a little bit, and we run like 3 yards the other way.
And then they obviously.
And then he came back the other way. But
and your defense is then, or the secondary is in coverage too, so they're obviously they're not ready to start looking back at the quarterback too.
Correct. Depending, obviously, in man coverage, they wouldn't even see him. So, and I don't know if we weren't like off the top of my head at the time.
Yeah.
But, they played well. Their line, we knew coming in the game, their offensive line was pretty good. And they did a nice job of getting moving bodies. So,
all right, Coach, let's take a look at the defensive highlights from Springford, Owen J. Roberts.
Defensive highlights are sponsored by JC's Catering.
So this is one of our, I think that was our first sack, and it's been a while since we've gotten a sack. But you see we get good pressure up there. Jaden McLeod kind of flushes him. And then Bryce Roberts also gets there, as well as Victor Vanderzil. They had run this play a couple times earlier, and we kind of over pursued on the ball fake, but this time we had a blitz called, and R.J. White and Nick Garzarella sandwiched the quarterback for a sack. Nice play here. This is, I think, Bryce Roberts and also Nick Garzarella there. Nick Garzarella, who makes that play in the backfield for a tackle for a loss. This was Nick Garzarella, again, huge. We had R.J. White coming off the edge. We had Nick coming off the edge. And Nick just takes the ball right out of the quarterback's hand. And that was a 3rd and 3 play. If they make this first down, or even if they don't, they have a field goal and put the game out of reach, and Nick Garzarella came up big. And then this was the final play on our highlights. This is a nice interception by Blake Turner. And then, he does a great job. Guys are getting downfield, getting back upfield blocking. And he brings it back inside, I think, the 25. And we scored on that possession as well. So he intercepts the ball on about the 50. And you see guys getting upfield trying to block for him, and gets the ball inside the 30, I guess. But just does a nice job of playing center field. The quarterback tried to look him off, and Blake did not fall for it, saw where the receivers were coming from, and got up and made an interception.
All right, Coach, defense highlights. Once again, you saw some turnovers in there. We saw those big plays for you guys, and obviously you're going to need that this week heading down the Pottsgrove.
Yeah, hopefully that continues, because that was, really we had struggled coming into the O&J game creating turnovers, but we got a few. We got the interception from Blake Turner, like as you saw, in the strip sack, and
that was another one of those plays where they're going for the jugular right there. They're trying to hit you guys down the field, and that was a big interception for you guys as well.
Well, as the game progressed, our guys started to figure it out a little bit and got a good read on them, but they scored early.
And something we hadn't talked a lot about this team struggle. We got some quarterback sacks, we got some big pressures, and those are those negative plays that we've been talking about this defense and missing for you too.
And that's another thing that we haven't had a lot of, like in terms of trending. Previous years, this year's trended down in terms of sacks and pressures. So, again, injuries to key guys does play a part in that. Like, I want to emphasize too that we're not trying to make excuses about it. It's just a reality of our situation, and we're gonna coach the next kid up,
right?
And
you got guys.
Have him do his best.
You have guys in the depth chart here. If we're any school in the pack, you got kids on the depth chart. Sure. Next guy up, and you got to make sure they're ready to go for Friday night.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, we're going to take one more commercial break here, and we'll be back to preview the game with Pottsgrove. Welcome back to the Gridiron, sponsored by Patriots Chevrolet. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Grove week here. Maybe it's me. I've been rehashing bad things, but I feel like the last time we played Pottsgrove in this crossover matchup, it wasn't a very good weather night, and obviously the outcome for us as well then too.
Yeah, we kind of they took advantage of the weather and kind of played everybody in the box and played man coverage, and we weren't. We dropped a few passes. We dropped a touchdown pass. We dropped a couple other passes, and just kind of let them hang around, and then they threw one over the top at the end to win it. So there's still a bad taste in my mouth from that.
Just making sure we still remember that one.
I remember.
We obviously have once again here you can be like, we lost late. This team has a lot to play for. You're still fighting for a berth in the district playoffs. Opportunity where if you win this game this week, opportunity you can see yourself going up in the rankings, and also a situation where you lose and you might not make the group of 16 for this district playoffs as well then too, depending on what pans out here in week 10 in District 1 too.
Yeah, we had a meeting earlier this week about, where just kind of to see where the pulse of the team is. And, I emphasized to the underclassmen, like, listen, your senior year, you get one senior year, and these guys have, played for 3 years. They deserve to have the best possible senior year that they can. So, we kind of press the reset button a little bit. Obviously, this year there's been a lot of disappointment, with the outcome of games. And, but we still have an opportunity to go do some special things, and we're going to try to do that.
Yeah, because they're obviously looking at you guys as a massive opportunity. They're in that 5A. I think they're like 9, 10, somewhere in that range where if they get a win, they feel they can get even that home game situation for them as well. We talked about it last week a little bit. O&J, Coach Nestle being a teacher there. You have a little family rivalry this week. Coach Mick, your defense coordinator, and the Pottsgrove offensive coordinator is his nephew, who's a teacher in the
That's right.
So a little bit, keep things close to the vest a little bit this week.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, what are you going to see from Pottsgrove offensively?
Well, they do a little bit of everything. For a long, long time, they were kind of a veer midline team, and they still have elements of that. They still do that, but they'll also try to spread you out a little bit. They've always been traditionally a veer or I kind of run the ball right at you team. But they, they've expanded their offense a little bit, and they make you cover the field. We are very impressed by their offensive line. They move people, and so it's a big challenge for us, especially considering where we're at.
Yeah, with guys that got to figure it out here in the next. What's today? Wednesday. The next 2 days, they got to figure this out. 48 hours essentially to figure things out. All right, take a look at Pottsgrove on offense.
Upcoming game highlights are sponsored by Tom's Car Wash.
This is them last week playing at Phoenixville, correct?
Yeah, they played at Phoenixville last week, and here you see more of the traditional stuff. Like they are just running ISO there, and they get into the secondary pretty quickly now.
And they get receivers helping, downfield blocking. You saw that too in that play.
They do run a lot of stuff like right at you. And they'll shift and trade the tight end and try to give you different looks, mix up what they're doing. There's
Same
just
thing, there's that
tackle.
fullback, yep.
All right, and they get into the secondary again. Phoenixville missed tackle on that as well. They get inside the 20.
Now here you go. This is just.
Now a little different, right? So they presented I, now they're in shotgun. But they essentially can do both things. Whether they're under center or in shotgun, they can do similar things. But again, they'll spread you out a little bit. Here they are in tight end trips, and they'll throw the ball. Nice first down throw right there.
Yeah.
So a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Now, once again, I know very little about this, but when in that eye, it's almost like let's watch where this the fullback's kind of leading, telling you
Can
a lot
unless
of the
they're
times.
running counter.
Okay, but the fullback is a guy to pay attention to when they do have that
Sure,
eye formation.
absolutely.
All right, what are you going to see from defensively?
So defensively, they sit. So there's different philosophies, right? You can show people 100 different looks, so they don't know what it is pre-snap. Or you can come out in the same look and then after the ball snap, do different things. They prefer to just come out basically in the same look. There's some variation, but for the most part, they come out in the same look and they'll play different coverages. They'll blitz different people, but out of that same look.
Okay.
So the picture looks the same, but once the ball snapped, something else might happen. So, but they're a 4-3 team. They play press quarters and cover 2, mostly out of that. They do a great job. They have a very, very good defensive end. Their linebackers do a good job in coverage. So again, they're a challenge. They're going to be a
like
challenge.
you said, Pottsgrave's always been one of those well-coached teams. They know what they're doing. They're always going to be prepared, and nothing to change with status quo of Pottsgrave in that.
That's
matter.
right.
All right, let's take a look at Pottsgrave on defense.
Upcoming game highlights are sponsored by Tom's Car Wash.
All right, so there you see the picture. All right, 4-3, and they show that shell look over
And
top.
here comes that linebacker filling in coverage.
Yeah, did a nice job there. Like, that's a open field tackle, and he does a nice job. But they'll give you that shell look. They do get after the quarterback very well. They got after Phoenixville, especially early, had a couple pretty big sacks. They'll move around a little. Here the safety comes down, all right? The safeties are like at 6 yards on this play, and, they're all over it. But again, that's like the slightly different picture. You see their safeties probably at 7-8 yards right there in line with, they're ahead of the referee. But they're playing man coverage in that situation on a third down.
There they are getting after the quarterback again.
And they get a sack. Secondary's a little higher that time.
And there's that linebacker getting out there, filling that space and making that tackle.
Yeah, doing a nice job of tackling in the open field.
Yeah, Coach. So once again, you can see they have the ability to tackle in space. And once again, that's always been one of your MOs is like get guys in space out there. So it's a real kind of like battle of what two teams want to do out there.
Yeah, and, we have to go over there. It's a grass field. I said that to...
Oh, we haven't played on grass all year?
Yeah, Boyertown.
Oh, Boyertown.
Well, true. We haven't played on grass all year. But our kids moaned when I said that because Boyertown's field was hard as a rock. It's not that at Pottsgrove. They do a really good job of taking care of their field. But, it's just a different, there's different variables, obviously, every game. And people have preferences. Kids have preferences. So,
all right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you and the crew Friday night. Make sure you tune in next week as we recap the game with Pottsgrove and hopefully preview a District 1 matchup for the Rams. For the head coach, Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next time on the Gridiron.